Come sit, child. I have a story your heart has been waiting for.
It was supposed to be a perfect Christmas night, the kind you see in movies. Soft lights, familiar laughter, and a house filled with people pretending everything was fine. I remember sitting there, on the corner sofa near the Christmas tree, holding a warm mug that I never actually drank from. The tree looked beautiful. Red ornaments, golden ribbons. The lights blinked slowly, almost like they were breathing. Everyone else was standing, talking, laughing, clinking glasses like nothing in the world could go wrong. But I felt it. Something was off. Christmas has a strange way of doing that. It doesn't just bring people together. It brings the truth closer. The music was playing softly in the background. Old Christmas songs we'd all heard 1,000 times. Yet that night, every lyric felt heavier. I watched people smile. The kind of smile you practice in the mirror. The kind you wear so no one asks questions. Then it happened. At first, it was small. A sudden silence between songs. A glass slipping from someone's hand. The sound of it hitting the floor cut through the room like a warning. Everyone turned. I didn't stand. I stayed seated. Because deep down, I already knew. Voices started overlapping. Someone asked, "Are you okay?" Someone else laughed nervously, trying to save the mood. But Christmas doesn't let you hide forever. The argument came out of nowhere. Old words, old wounds. Things that were buried long before the decorations came out. The room felt smaller. The lights felt brighter. And suddenly, the tree didn't look festive anymore. It looked like a witness. I remember the fireplace crackling behind me. The sound felt too loud, like it was reacting to the tension. Someone raised their voice. Someone else cried. And just like that, the party was over. People grabbed their coats without saying goodbye. Some left angry. Some left embarrassed. The music stopped. Only the tree lights remained on, blinking, quiet. I sat there long after everyone left. The mug in my hands had gone cold. That's when I realized something about Christmas. It's not just about joy. It's about honesty. Christmas doesn't break families. It reveals the cracks that were already there. That night, something bad happened. But something real happened too. We stopped pretending. And sometimes, that's the hardest gift to accept. If this story felt real to you, like the video, share it with someone who understands. And subscribe for more meaningful stories. Because some Christmas memories stay with us forever. Christmas didn't end when the lights went off. It ended the next morning, when the house felt quieter than it ever had before. The tree was still standing in the corner, ornaments shining like nothing had happened. But something had happened, and everyone felt it. The laughter from the party was gone. The music was gone. Even the smell of food felt cold. I remember waking up early that morning, sitting alone at the kitchen table, staring at a half-empty mug of coffee, trying to replay the night in my head. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. How did something so happy turn so wrong? No one talked about it at first. That's how families are. We pretend silence will fix things. We hope time will erase words that were never meant to be spoken. But silence doesn't heal. It just lets the damage settle in deeper. By noon, the phone started ringing. Relatives checking in. Friends asking if everyone was okay. Some pretending they didn't know what happened. Others making it very clear that they did. And then there were the people who didn't call at all. That hurt the most. I watched my family move through the house like strangers. Everyone polite. Everyone careful. Everyone avoiding eye contact. The person who caused the scene the night before sat alone in the living room, wrapped in a blanket. Eyes swollen. Voice gone. Not angry anymore. Just empty. That's the part no one talks about. After the shouting ends. After the guests leave. After the door closes. What's left isn't drama. It's regret. It's the moment you realize you can't rewind the night, no matter how badly you want to. Dinner that day felt impossible. We sat around the same table where we'd laughed just hours earlier. But no one was hungry. Forks tapped plates. Glasses stayed full. Someone finally tried to speak. And that's when the consequences began. Not loud. Not explosive. Just honest. Old feelings came out. Old wounds reopened. Things that had been buried for years suddenly had a voice. Some people apologized. Some didn't know how. Some cried. Some stared at the floor. And some realized, maybe for the first time, that Christmas doesn't magically fix broken relationships. It only reveals them. That night, I sat alone again. The tree lights were still on, blinking softly, almost mocking the heaviness in the room. I remember thinking, next year, things will be different. But deep down, I knew something had changed forever. Because once the truth shows up to the party, It doesn't leave quietly. I didn't plan to talk to him that night. After everything that happened during the Christmas party, after the silence, the distance, the looks people gave us, I thought some things were better left alone. But Christmas has a way of dragging the truth out of you. It was late. The house was quiet in that heavy way that only comes after something breaks. The Christmas lights were still on, blinking softly, like nothing had happened at all. He was sitting in the living room. Same couch, same spot, hands folded, eyes tired, like a man waiting for a verdict he already knew. I stood in the doorway longer than I should have. Then he spoke. Not loud, not angry, just tired. "I know you think you understand what happened," he said. "But you don't." I sat down slowly, leaving space between us. Not because I wanted distance, but because I didn't know how close I was allowed to be anymore. He took a deep breath. That night, it wasn't about the argument. It wasn't about the words that came out wrong. It was about everything I've been carrying for years. That's when I felt it. That shift. The moment when a conversation stops being defensive and starts being honest. He told me about the pressure. About feeling invisible even in a room full of people. About pretending to be strong because Christmas expects joy, smiles, laughter, no cracks allowed. "I didn't mean to ruin the night," he said, "but I didn't know how to keep pretending." I wanted to interrupt, to defend myself, to explain how embarrassed I felt, how hurt I was. But for the first time, I listened. He looked at me and said something I wasn't ready for. "I wasn't angry at you. I was angry at myself for not saying these things sooner." The room felt smaller after that, because suddenly, the story I had been telling myself, about blame, about intention, about who ruined Christmas, started to fall apart. I realized something painful. The worst moments don't come from hate. They come from silence that lasts too long. We talked for hours, not arguing, not fixing everything, just talking about expectations, about the weight of holidays, about how Christmas can make loneliness louder instead of softer. When the conversation ended, nothing was magically solved. But something changed. The anger was gone. The pretending was gone. And for the first time since that Christmas night, we were honest. Sometimes, the moment that saves a relationship isn't the apology, isn't the forgiveness. It's the conversation you were both afraid to start. And that night, long after Christmas was over, we finally had it. The house felt different after the holidays. Not empty, just quieter. The decorations were still there, but they didn't feel loud anymore. They felt tired, like they had done their job and were waiting to be put away. I remember sitting alone on the couch, the Christmas lights still glowing softly in the corner of the room. No music, no laughter, just that low hum of silence that follows something heavy. Christmas had passed, but the weight of what happened hadn't. For days, I replayed everything in my mind. Every word that was said. Every moment I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. Every moment I spoke when I should have listened. It's strange how silence can feel louder than shouting. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt human. The truth is, pain doesn't disappear when the holiday ends. It just loses its audience. And that's when healing actually starts. Not in front of people, not during celebrations, but in the ordinary days after. I started small. Mornings with coffee instead of excuses. Walks outside instead of hiding indoors. Breathing slowly when my chest felt tight. Some nights, I still sat in the same spot where everything had fallen apart. But instead of blaming myself, I talked. Out loud, even when no one was there. Not to argue, not to defend, just to understand. That's when I realized something important. Healing isn't fixing what broke. Healing is learning how to live with the cracks. I didn't try to rush forgiveness. I didn't force smiles. I didn't pretend everything was okay. I let it be messy. I let it be quiet. I let it be slow. And slowly, something shifted. The memories stopped hurting as sharply. The questions stopped demanding answers. The sadness softened, not gone, but gentler. Like a scar that no longer burns when you touch it. One evening, as I packed away the last Christmas ornament, I held it in my hand longer than usual. I thought about how something so fragile can survive being wrapped, stored, and forgotten, only to shine again next year. That felt like hope. Not the loud kind. The honest kind. I didn't know what the future looked like. I still don't. But I knew one thing for sure. What happened didn't define the rest of my life. Christmas didn't break me. It revealed me. And after the holidays, after the noise, after the pain, I finally began to heal. I used to think healing would feel dramatic. Like one big moment where everything suddenly made sense. But the truth is, healing is quiet. It happens in ordinary moments when no one is watching. After the holidays passed, life didn't magically improve. The decorations came down. The lights were packed away. The house looked normal again, but I wasn't. I started noticing how silence felt different now. It wasn't heavy like it used to be. It didn't press on my chest. It just existed peacefully. Some mornings, I'd sit by the window with a cup of coffee, watching people rush to work, watching kids wait for the school bus, watching life continue like it always had. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel left behind. What happened that Christmas changed me. Not because it broke me, but because it forced me to stop pretending everything was fine. I stopped apologizing for feeling things. I stopped brushing pain aside just to keep the peace. I learned that avoiding hard conversations doesn't protect anyone. It just delays the truth. There were still difficult days. Days when memories came back unexpectedly. A Christmas song in a store. The smell of cinnamon. The sound of laughter at a family gathering. But instead of running from those moments, I sat with them. I let myself feel them, and then I let them pass. That's how moving forward really works. Not by forgetting, but by carrying the memory without letting it crush you. I began setting small boundaries. Saying no when I needed to. Speaking up when something didn't feel right. Choosing peace over appearances. And slowly, life started feeling lighter. Not perfect, not effortless, just honest. I realized that the hardest part of that Christmas wasn't what happened at the party. It was the moment I finally admitted to myself that something needed to change. And once I did, everything else followed. So if you're listening to this and you're still carrying something from the holidays, something that hurt, something that didn't get talked about, just know this. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take one honest step forward. That's how new beginnings really start. Not on January 1st, not with resolutions, but with truth. And sometimes, the greatest gift you give yourself after the holidays is permission to move on. I remember the next Christmas clearly because it didn't arrive with noise. It arrived quietly. There was no big party, no crowded living room, no forced smiles or loud music. Just me. I was sitting in my old armchair near the window again, wrapped in a soft gray blanket, a cup of warm coffee resting in my hands. Outside, snow fell slowly, like the world itself had learned to move more gently. The living room looked different this year. Simpler, calmer. The tree was smaller. The lights were fewer. But somehow, everything felt warmer. The background sound was just the faint hum of the heater and the ticking of the wall clock. No voices talking over each other. No laughter that felt heavy. No memories pressing too hard on my chest. For the first time in years, Christmas didn't feel like something I had to survive. It felt like something I was allowed to feel. I looked at the empty couch across from me and didn't feel lonely. I felt peaceful, because healing had taught me something no holiday ever could. That sometimes the most meaningful celebrations aren't about who's around you, but about who you finally make peace with. Yourself. I took a slow sip of my coffee and closed my eyes for a moment, letting the warmth settle in. The lights on the tree blinked softly, reflecting against the window, mixing with the snow outside. And in that quiet moment, I realized something important. The bad Christmas didn't ruin the holiday forever. It changed it. It taught me boundaries. It taught me honesty. It taught me that love doesn't need an audience. Most of all, it taught me that sometimes losing something loud makes room for something real. I stayed in that chair for a long time, not waiting for anyone to arrive, not wishing things were different, just breathing, just being present. And when the clock finally struck midnight, I whispered something to myself. Merry Christmas. Not because it was perfect, not because it was joyful in the way movies show, but because it was honest. And that was enough. Sometimes stories don't end with answers. They end with understanding. If this Christmas story touched something inside you, if it reminded you of a moment you never talk about, or a feeling you still carry quietly, then you're not alone. Thank you for staying till the end. Thank you for listening. If you want more real, emotional stories like this one, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more meaningful storytelling. Until next time, take care of your heart, especially during the holidays.
Thank you for watching and listening to my stories. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to Voice of Grandma.